Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Her in the Huddle, WOVU's Look at Sports, featuring the First Lady of Sports, Rachel Hill.
What's up? What's up? What's up? You are listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. I got something special for y'all today. In studio, I have Miss Sapphire, who's going to be guest co-hosting with me today. I'm super excited to have her on, and we have Willie as well. I think Willie just dropped off because Willie's signal is not that strong. If he comes back, that's okay. It's okay. If he doesn't, that's okay too, because I got Miss Sapphire in the house with me today. Miss Sapphire, how are you doing, girl?
I am fantastic, and I'm so excited to be in the studio with you. Come on now. Woo!
Well, today is a Victory Monday. So, that's something that's pretty awesome. So, yeah, clap for that. I don't have a clap sound. I wish I did. But today is a Victory Tuesday. So, last season, it took us a while to get into some Victory Monday. Excuse me. It wasn't Victory Tuesday last week. It took us a while to get in some Victory Mondays. But this year, we're kind of starting off the Victory Mondays kind of early with shellacking of Cincinnati. And then we went into Pittsburgh, and there was a game in Pittsburgh that we could have won, but we did not. We had the ball in we had last possession of the ball. So unfortunately, we weren't able to pull out the come from behind. But yesterday, you had another shellacking of the Tennessee Titans. And, right now, this team is kind of rolling. You can kind of look at the, game against Pittsburgh as a little anomaly or what have you, because things just didn't go well from the very beginning of that game, and they were kind of behind, and they were playing from behind. They did take the lead, but it still wasn't enough to sustain, and they ended up dropping that game. So one of the things that, Kevin Stefanski talked about, that this team talked about, was, how do you respond? This was a bounce back game for them. So that was something that, was key. And then, losing Nick Chubb, which was something that was completely awful. So the good news about that is that he only tore his MCL, so he'll have a recovery of 6 to 8 months. Obviously, he won't be coming back this season, but this isn't a career-ending injury, which a lot of people thought that it could be. They thought that he had tore all three ligaments in his knee, the MCL, the ACL, and I forgot what the other one was. But people had thought that this could possibly be a career-ending injury for Nick Chubb, and it's not. So I think it can be safe to say that Nick Chubb will be able to suit up for brown and orange again. So that's an awesome thing. Sapphire, what are your thoughts about Nick Chubb, not suffering a career-ending injury and knowing that he's going to be back in the Cleveland Browns uniform?
I mean, as a Browns fan, I think it's phenomenal news because based on what I saw and the commentators, what they were saying, I thought it was going to be really career ending. I really, truly did. But it's divine. He still has life. He's going to have life with us. I'm very excited about that. And Nick, if you're listening, I wish you the best of luck. Come back soon.
It was so ugly that they couldn't even show it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they didn't show it on air, but
right.
People had video of it. If you were on the web, you saw it. It looked very, very, very nasty. And I attribute actually this to his conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
That it wasn't as severe. Sometimes the body takes on impact. It's a collision sport and absorbs things in ways we don't know. But I think his conditioning had a lot to do with the injury not being as significant as was initially reported.
Yeah, they were talking about, that as well, talking about how strong he is because he can squat 600 pounds and that, he's also a little bit of luck played into it as well. Him being so strong that they weren't able to get to his ACL. Right. So that's the most important thing because, with the ACL, you're talking a year-long recovery. I believe he's 28 years old. Mm-hmm. And they talk about running backs have a short shelf life. So, there's a couple different things that play into that. But I'm just wholly glad that, because I don't think the surgery has taken place just yet.
I haven't heard that it has.
Okay, yeah, because there was still a lot of swelling in there. So they almost did get emergency surgery in Pittsburgh, but it wasn't needed. So, you know, right now he's just resting and recuperating at home. And Kevin Stefanski went to his house yesterday after the victory and gave him the game ball.
Aww.
So Kevin Stefanski made a special trip to Nick Chubb. And I don't know if you noticed, you know, Kareem Hunt wearing a jersey number 24. And it was so funny last year. Kareem Hunt was mic'd up. And, you know, they saw him trying to engage Nick Chubb. And Nick Chubb is just so quiet. So Kareem was doing everything possible to have a conversation with Nick. And it was just one or two answers. You know, that's just Nick's personality. So it's not like, you know, he doesn't want to talk to Nick Chubb. He doesn't want to talk to Kareem Hunt, but it's just Nick is Nick and he's a very quiet guy. So hey Willie, what's up, man? How you doing? Willie, can you hear me?
Cleveland is the city where we come from.
Oh yeah. Thank you for mentioning
Bone.
Bone.
The city where we come from. So,
I said thank you for mentioning Bone. That's one thing that also we gotta talk about. Just, you know, give our prayers to Crazy Bone right now. He's in the hospital. They say, you know, he's in serious condition. So we just want to give our prayers to Crazy Bone and Bone Thugs and Harmony and his family as well. So thank you for singing that tune and reminding me about that.
Wait, what? What happened to Crazy Bone?
Crazy Bone is in the hospital right now.
For what?
He has sarcoidosis. It's the same issue that Bernie Mac had.
Oh.
When it comes to the lungs and things of that nature.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it says he underwent immediate surgery to stop the bleeding caused by a leaking artery in one of his lungs.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very sad. Prayers up to the homie, man. Yeah. I was actually listening to some Bone Thugs and Harmony a little earlier, their first album.
That's a classic.
Yeah.
So Willie, we got a guest co-host with us today. We got Sapphire co-hosting with us today.
Sapphire. What's happening, Sapphire?
Nothing much, just loving this is Victory Monday. I am so excited to get that stench of that Steelers game out of my mind. I'm very, very happy today.
Yeah, I hate them too.
Well, Willie's team is the Raiders, so we're going to get to them in a little bit. But, you know, unfortunately, you know, they got beat, you know, by the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the Raiders had opportunity at the end of the game. So, you know, we can't act like the Raiders couldn't have won that game and came back on them. So, you know, unfortunately, but we'll get to that in a little bit. George says the Titans played like the ship Titanic. They went down, but they had their one chance early with a thank you gift from a turnover, but couldn't move the ball and ended up kicking a field goal. Played on the 24th, won by 24, and Chubb's number is 24. So yeah, a lot of you know, exactly, a lot of you know, subliminal messages right there, which is kind of cool, you know, but yeah, so this was a bounce back. Willie, I know you watched the game highlights. What are your thoughts overall on this game? Because this game was a bounce back game for the Cleveland Browns after what happened on Monday Night Football. 6 days of rest to get it done, but, you know, they were able to bounce back. What are your thoughts about them bouncing back this week?
Well, you're going to have to forgive me because my connection is spotty at best. So I'm going to keep talking, but I actually was very impressed with what the Browns did. I watched most of the game because I do Cleveland Sports Talk Radio every Monday and sometimes on Tuesday. So all of the other games didn't matter, so I wanted to make sure I was prepared. But I will tell you this, Rachel and Sapphire and everybody else in the studio there, that that defense is real. I mean, real. And when I sung the song, Cleveland is the city where we come from, so run, run, man, they had Ryan Tannehill run for his life. And they owned King Henry, whose now name is Prince Henry, or maybe even Princess Henry, because he just couldn't get anything going. The defense is real. I mean, no doubt about it. And Kareem Hunt steps in just like he was just there yesterday. Deshaun Watson, I saw where you said that you weren't too impressed, but that's the best game that he's played since he's been in Cleveland.
Yeah, I agree. Sapphire, what are your overall thoughts about this bounce back game?
I would have to agree with Willie. The defense has us on lockdown. Like, think about the Titans drove all the way down the field. I believe that was the end of the first half, right? For certain, you're thinking probably at least a 3-pointer. But oh my, wait a minute. We forgot about our defense. All of the preseason hype, to me, it wasn't hype. They are backing up everything. I'm very impressed with that defense. I actually think the defense is what is sort of inspiring the offense, right? I mean, there's that old adage, defense wins games. The Cleveland Browns defense are making me a believer of just that. Schwartz has those men fit. You hear what I'm saying? So my overall thoughts really are with the defense first. And then I just still see Deshaun progressing like in a way where we haven't even begun to see the tip of the iceberg with him, right? And I just am really excited about even the next few weeks watching, where he's going to be. I'm very uncertain about our offense. I have to be honest with you. I mean, without our running game, I just see like some of the play calling seems like it's, well, let me try a little bit of this. That didn't work. Well, let me, try a little of that. Let's see how that works. I really don't think they have even begun to kind of redefine themselves, if you will, post Chubb. But I'm very, very happy about Deshaun's contributions, even though he didn't, not Deshaun, I'm sorry, Kareem's contributions, even though he was not out there a lot, he still averaged 11 yards a carry, right? And not being our number one starter in the backfield. So those are my initial overall thoughts. But Rachel, talk to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think that's a great point about post Nick Chubb. How does this offense define itself? Because one thing that Myles Garrett talks about all the time is complementary football. And I feel like, right now is not very complementary. Right now, I feel like the defense is kind of keeping this team, in order, intact, and kind of winning games. And, you alluded to, offense wins games and defense wins championships. And one of the things is this is almost, dare I say, a Super Bowl caliber defense. I mean, this is very early. We're only 3 games in.
I'm buying that wolf ticket.
But right now, what you're seeing is the beginning of something special. And I think that it could be even more special because you're only 3 games in. So you still have, what's the math? How many more games? You still got 14 more games to go. And then you got a bye week, so you got a little bit of rest. You have a tough first 4 games in which you play 3 you play your whole division in the first 4 weeks. So I believe that the bye week is coming at a perfect time for this team. So that's a great thing. But right now, I want to see more complementary football. I want to see what the offense can do. And, you mentioned Deshaun Watson. Somebody, one of my friends on Facebook, he used to be here in Cleveland, but, he put together polls. And one of the polls that he put together was, what are our thoughts, about Deshaun Watson's performance yesterday? And I said, I'm still looking for some improvement. And a lot of people say, that was his best game that he's played. I'm still looking for him to get to the 300 passing yards. He was at 289. If that call for Amari Cooper didn't take place, he would have hit the 300 that you have been looking for him to hit, as a Browns quarterback, 300 yards. But, he didn't hit it, but he was very close. But, I need to see less panicking as well. That backwards fumble pass, I'm not exactly sure what was going through his mind when he did that. Just take the sack. I understand you don't want to do it, but it was for negative yardage anyway. So
but let me ask you about that. I mean, do you think like sometimes even the greatest players press, right? Could it have been that in that moment he thought he could still make something happen? And like, what is that? Right? Because you're right. It was just bad. It just it was terrible. It looked bad. It was bad. But even in that moment, could it have been like, man, maybe I could still make this work because he is such a great athlete? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it was just terrible decision making. And I think that, he probably had that attitude, but it was just a terrible decision. And fortunately, it didn't cost us, It just cost a couple yards, but that could have been a turnover, which could have started momentum for Tennessee. You got them kind of early. They were able to get a turnover off of Elijah Moore, catching the ball and fumbling it. But, fortunately, they was only able to score 3 points off of that. And then, one of the things you have to be careful of turnovers because you had 4 turnovers against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
And that's not how you win games. You could have won that game. You were in position to win it. But, with 4 turnovers, usually you don't win a game.
I hear what you're saying. And that game in Pittsburgh last week, I hate to sound like one of these people, but I'm going to sound like one of these people. Like we saw in yesterday's game, the referees they're just like not seeing some of these penalties, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about that game, the last play of the game, to me, there was a blatant defensive interference or hold. I just don't understand. And like yesterday, the pass from Deshaun to Amari, he had to be a good 6 inches off of that line. I just hate that. It just seems like there's always that factor involved in the outcome of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
bad teams don't get those calls.
There you go.
And unfortunately, the Cleveland Browns have been bad for so long that they're not going to get those calls. The good teams get those calls. I was rooting for Philly against Kansas City, but the good teams get the benefit of the doubt. And Philly was just as good as Kansas City last year, but you saw that, there's always a magical flag that comes out at the end of the game for Kansas City to win. And I don't really think that was pass interference. But, good teams such as winning teams. And then you saw how many calls the Patriots got during their domination. So Cleveland Browns they're not an upstart team. They've been around for forever, but a team that's starting to possibly get good. And we're only 3 games in. But, if this team continues to play the way that they are, maybe their tide will change, but they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt with those calls because those officials, I'm not saying they're on the take as well, but, when it came to Michael Jordan, one time an official called a foul and he said, "You don't call that foul on me." Oh, yeah. Michael Jordan, you don't call that foul on me. So, when you're good like that, you're always going to get the benefit of those calls. And the Browns aren't good, so they don't get a call like that. Then, on Mondays, usually the report is released about the missed calls. And I don't know about that report, it being on the report, but obviously that's something that's going to be on the report because it wasn't a challengeable thing. So that's going to be on the report, but that don't help me now.
Right.
We still won the game, but say, what I'm saying, that this was something at the end of the game where the game was on the line, we got screwed.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't help me now because you
doesn't
missed it and you can't challenge it. So I think that there needs to be something different, that some plays can be challenged like that because there was an official right there and you blew that call.
Yes, number 60, a number that I will never forget for the rest of my life.
Yeah, we got to go ahead and take a quick break, Sapphire. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We're going to be right back.
That was okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great. Perfect. Thank you. How are you feeling? You feeling comfortable?
Okay. Because you're making me feel comfortable.
Of course, the student loan people called me while we was on air.
Isn't that is that spam? Because I thought they weren't supposed to do that.
No, I requested a call back because they were talking about it was going to be like 246 minutes I was going to be on hold for. So that's like 4 hours.
I was going to say, let me get my math right.
So I requested a call back, and of course they called me back while we was on there. Willie intermittently right now. He doesn't have the best reception, so I'm so happy that Sapphire was able to co-host with me today. We just met a few minutes ago, but she is amazing and she knows her sports. And we are having a great conversation about the Cleveland Browns. Now, what were you talking about right before we went to break, Sapphire?
Oh my gosh, wait a minute. Was it number 60? The number
Oh yeah, you said number 60, the official. But also too, one of the old adages, because I was an athlete too, I played field hockey and lacrosse, is that you can't ever leave the game in the official's hands.
Yeah.
You have to go out and just beat your opponent. So what the official call doesn't matter at the end of the day. And the Browns were able to do that. So this wasn't a call that cost us, but it could have. And this could have been the end of the game, and we could have been trying to make a comeback. So fortunately we're very lucky, and the Browns did their job, and we don't have to talk about that. But right now we're dealing with a team that's 2-1 and 1-1 in the AFC North. What are your thoughts about that position and where we're opening up at?
I mean, you know what? I'm very, very comfortable with it. Like, I'm not going to make more of it than it is, because who we have coming in next week. To me, that is going to be a real litmus test for where the Browns are at a few games into the season. So ask me that question next week, and I may have a different answer, but very comfortable. I mean, and like you said, we should have beat Pittsburgh. That's it. We should have beaten the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, so we gave that one away, but we came back yesterday and responded the right way. We handled our business, especially at home. 2-0 at home. Very comfortable. What about you?
Absolutely. And just one last comment about number 60. George says, watch the NFL apologize for the oops play on Cooper down the sideline, which should have been given a TD. And the refs blew the whistle saying he stepped out at the 30. So, yeah. So that's something that we're going to talk about. Well, we already talked about it, but, that's a mistake that was made or what have you. But I absolutely feel the same way you feel about the litmus test coming in. Our run defense, which was one of the worst in all of the NFL last year, we were able to put the clamps on Derrick Henry, who we know is a prolific runner. So, being able to stop him was something that's important. That also builds some confidence with the defense as well. They only had 26 offensive yards total. And how do you hold another, NFL team to something like that? And I'm not talking about the blowout, of the Denver Broncos and the Miami Dolphins, which was just crazy, 20-70. I've never heard of anything like that before in my life. But you have a team holding another NFL team to less than 50 yards of total offense, which was just rushing, which is just crazy to me. I don't understand that concept. So this defense is scary good, but we always have noticed that Lamar is very sneaky, and his running ability is very different than a quarterback's. He's fast, he's quick, and we've always had trouble stopping him. So you're absolutely right that this is a litmus test, what we can do, with against the Baltimore Ravens. One of also Lamar Jackson's favorite targets really isn't his receivers, is Mark Andrews. So if they can slow him down as well, probably Grant Delpit has been playing excellent at safety. You go ahead and assign a safety over to him, and that might be able to slow him down. But that's one of his top targets, and they make a lot of great connections. So getting in there and being able to stop that and being able to stop Lamar from running, I think that that's going to be a great test for this team. And then they have the bye week to kind of settle down and tweak and make adjustments and figure out the things that they need to work on, because these are two titans of the AFC North. I always say that the AFC North is the toughest division in all of football to play in. Some people say it's the AFC West, and whatever. I don't believe that. I believe it's the AFC North, because remember in 2020 we made the playoffs.
Absolutely.
3 teams out of the AFC North made the playoffs. So they're slugging against each other, but also beating other teams as well. But they have to beat each other up. So this is a game in which Baltimore is going to come in hungry, because they just lost in overtime yesterday to the Indianapolis Colts. They lost to Gardner Minshew. I didn't even know that cat was still in the league. I didn't even know he was still in the league. And yesterday he beat the Baltimore Ravens. So you know that they're going to come in here hungry. They're going to come in here pumped.
Yeah.
They're going to come in here excited to beat the Cleveland Browns. But I don't think it's going to happen. This is a game that can go either way. But if this defense shows up and stop Lamar, it's almost like you don't need the offense to be perfect.
Right.
You just need to have them put some points up.
That's right.
What do you think?
I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying because I think beyond Andrews, what other player is Lamar in sync with?
Mm-hmm.
I really think about that. I think Odell, he's kind of gimpy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like really, even running back, who do they really have that stands out to you that will complement Lamar? I don't see that. And not to water it down or diminish, they're a good team, solid team, very successful. But for me, this should be almost an identical outcome next week as it was yesterday. That's how confident I am because of our defense. I mean, Coach Schwartz has these men just primed. So I'm looking forward to the game.
Yeah, Lamar has a tendency to put this team on his back if he doesn't feel like he can trust. And, J.K. Dobbins being out. So what happens with Lamar? He becomes the primary running back,
right.
For that team. And, a lot of people say you can't throw the ball down the field. But, he always manages to make those plays against the Cleveland Browns. He doesn't appear to, ever have that issue to me when it comes to that. But, he's the type of player in which, he's going to take that team and put it on his back and then see what happens from there. So I think that, when it comes down to this team being able to stop the run, you got to be able to stop Lamar.
Absolutely.
And that's just what it comes down to because, he's going to take off. He has that daylight. So, he's gonna that's his calling card, and that's how he's beat you over the years. So the other day I went back and I watched that game when we it was like was it 45, that Monday Night Football game where we went back and forth in 2020.
Okay.
And not Pittsburgh, excuse me, but Baltimore won in the very end. But one of the issues was they just couldn't stop Lamar running.
Right.
And the defense was kind of playing a bend but don't break defense, and they were kind of leaving stuff open against the middle. And, Mark Andrews, that connection that they had, he always bails Lamar out. So I think this game, there's going to be a lot to desire for Baltimore, but I think that the Cleveland Browns will be able to come in and be able to put Baltimore in its place and kind of show that, show the world that they're a team to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. Defensively, the matchup, I just have never felt so good about an upcoming game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you mentioned it at the top of the show, Miles had 3.5 sacks himself, right? Like he was the
3.5.
3.5. He was the show stopper, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I thought Denzel had one of the better games that I've seen him play as well. You mentioned Delpit. Like to me, first, second level, the Browns are solid. So to your point, listen, what does he have? What does Lamar Jackson have? Really, that he knows, that we know, it's Andrews. But I don't think he's going to be able to run and find those spaces in our secondary either. So it's an exciting game, just to watch it from a schematic perspective. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, you didn't have Greg Newsome as well. He was injured, but Martin Emerson, get in there and playing. He did have a penalty for not really looking back at the ball, but that's okay because, last year, his rookie season, he proved himself to be a formidable cornerback as well. So, he was able to come in and kind of pick up where nothing, there was no drop off in cornerback play for him. So, that was kind of dope. So, time is flying, Sapphire. So we got to go ahead and take another break again. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. And we're going to be right back. Willie can't hear me because I'm on mute. Willie, what's up, brother?
Yo.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know what was going on
I was on mute by accident.
with the connection, though. I mean, I couldn't get a connection to save my life.
Oh, you out there in Texas, so it's a wide open road out there. So
I'm in the city, though. Don't
I
front.
know.
Don't front. You've been through here. You've been through here. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was enjoying y'all's conversation.
Oh, thank you.
Sapphire is bringing the fire.
I know she great, ain't she?
Yeah, and I heard something about y'all just met a few minutes ago.
Yeah. I was like, "What you doing? You want to come on the show?" I was like, "What can't make it, and Willie might not, depending on what happened with him." I was like, "Come on, you doing me a favor." But she's amazing.
No, you guys are awesome, and I'm trying not to be overly intimidated by this, but
Girl, please,
it's a
you
real
fit
good-
right in.
I appreciate that. But Willie, I'm so curious. Share your thoughts. What was your biggest takeaway from this game yesterday?
We still talking about Cleveland, right?
Yes, we
Mhm.
are.
The defense.
Mhm.
The defense is real. Playmakers at every single level. And Myles Garrett, if he's able to stay healthy, he's going to be right there in the conversation for defensive MVP. Now, TJ Watt already has 7 sacks on the year.
Right.
But Myles Garrett is really showing why he is that dude and was the number 1 overall pick back in, what was it, 14, 15, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that defense, and I actually was tweeting with Kate yesterday, Cleveland Kate, and I said the defense is real, and she responded, facts. You can say what you want about the quarterbacks that they played, and Kenny Pickett, and also with Ryan Tannehill. Joe Burrow obviously is not himself, but still, I mean, to hold Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, and then George Pickens, and then DeAndre Hopkins, that's some pretty good territory right there. You guys should be excited. And as the Cleveland Browns adopter, or is it adoptee?
Adoptee.
No, because if I'm the adoptee, that means they would have adopted me. So, as a Cleveland Browns adopter, I am excited for you guys as well.
So translate that into next week's game versus the Baltimore Ravens.
That defense is going to have to bring it, because obviously that's going to be the biggest test of the year so far.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got another test though. It's going to be San Francisco, but go ahead. Sorry.
Which game is first?
Baltimore, and then we go on our bye week.
Okay, so then let's stay in front of the chains like they do when they're trying to not get behind the chains. So with Baltimore, Cleveland is going to have to bring all of their lunch pails, because Lamar Jackson has historically given them issues in these games. I know Odell Beckham Jr. didn't play, and let's just say this about Odell Beckham Jr. real quick. Dude, you need to run for the hills. You need to run for the hills and not mess with anybody with the last name Kardashian. What are you thinking? You're saying,
so there's some truth to the rumors, you think?
Hey, the evidence is there, because he didn't play yesterday, and he's rumored to have been seen in public with her. Them girls are some man eaters, but that's another story for another day. But this is the thing. The Ravens, in the loss that they had to, who was it? They lost yesterday to who in overtime? The Colts.
Gardner Minshew.
And let's just say this about Gardner Minshew. He ain't no punk. That dude can play. You don't set records as a quarterback in the Pac-12 by being not able to play. So this game is going to be the truest of the testest of the testiest. Is that word? Are those even real words? Guess what? They are now.
Where you going with that?
Yeah, they are now. This is going to be the testiest of tests for that team. And the game is where?
In Cleveland.
In Cleveland. They got it all out in front of them. To be able to go 3-1 and then be 3-1 in the division will be miraculously, monumentally, stupendously huge.
Yeah, George says up and down emotions wasn't the Browns and Titans game. It was the Ohio State Notre Dame game. If you don't feel this during the contest, you're doing a disservice to yourself. Another great weekend contest. And he says your co-host is beyond words, admirable in a sporting way.
Thank you, George. I appreciate that.
He ain't talking about you. He talking about Sapphire.
No.
Girl.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Oh my gosh. I'm so intimidated right now. Oh my
Willie
gosh.
just jumped in and took your glory. Willie, you a mess.
Thank you for that wonderful comment.
Yeah, I mean, and
yeah.
George speaks the real too. So
Mhm.
that's that dude there, man. He's all with it.
Yeah, George is one of our biggest supporters, and we love George
Did
beyond
I
words.
did I answer the question?
Yeah, I think you did. One of the things though, the Browns, our running game, was very slow to get going. That's something that's going to be a constant improvement. But not George Floyd, Jerome Ford, excuse me, Jerome Ford said, that's okay. I'm going to put this team on my back. And, he had a rushing touchdown and he also had, a receiving touchdown for 19 yards. That was a pretty, I know I'll be on Deshaun Watson, but that was a pretty ball to Jerome Ford, able to, they were able to scheme him open and it was just right there for the taking. So, Kareem Hunt, they picked him up off the street and it was just like, they didn't miss a beat. And, Kareem Hunt always runs with his hair is like it's on fire or something like that.
He was ready. He didn't slack while he was waiting. He was ready.
Yep.
Right? That's how the league goes. I'm so curious. This is a question for both of you. Going back to Ford, like in your gut, I mean, how real do you think he is in terms of contributing to our team?
Willie, you can go first.
Well, I mean, running backs are almost a dime a dozen, right? I think Kevin Stefanski is going to have to go back to his 2020, or was it 19? 2019 Kevin Stefanski when the Chiefs, when the Browns and the Chiefs played in the divisional round. He's going to have to stop trying to outsmart himself. I think Ford is one of those kind of backs that kind of reminds me a little bit of D'Ernest. Was his name D'Ernest?
Yeah.
D'Ernest Johnson.
D'Ernest Johnson. But I think what's going to be a hindrance though is the fact that Conklin is out for the year. That's going to be a big hindrance.
But what about DeJuan Jones?
I don't know much about him.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I think he can be serviceable. Remember we talked about him last week, 6'8", 375.
Oh yeah. The dude from Ohio State. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay. So I'm glad you reminded me. So how did he do in this game? Because I really wasn't honed in on him like I was before.
He did fine in this game, much improved. I think definitely, getting those reps in Pittsburgh helped. It's always Jedrick Wills, for me, that's the issue, at left tackle. But, he didn't play a bad game yesterday either. But I would say Jedrick Wills is kind of the weak spot on the offensive line.
Okay, so with that being said, with the new kid from Ohio, or the kid from Ohio State in there now, in his second full game, you got to think that at some point they're going to begin to gel as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
And once that happens, it could be some. And with him, with Hunt, look, him and Hunt in the backfield, Kareem Hunt.
Yep.
At one point, guys, Kareem Hunt was one of the top running backs in the NFL. So I'm not saying he's Nick Chubb or Isaiah Pacheco, or actually he's better than Pacheco if you ask me, but still, when that line begins to gel together and they start playing with the rhythm that's needed, and they start to learn what the strengths are for what's the dude's name? Y'all just said it. The running back, Ford, not Floyd, Ford. when they start learning what he does best, that includes, of course, the coaches and the OC and all that. But when they start figuring out what he does best, what his strengths are, what he doesn't like, I think that it could gel into something pretty cool. And then when you get that running game going, Deshaun Watson will go back to being a top 5 quarterback in the league. And at that point, I can see the bottles popping, and I can smell the champagne flowing. Not necessarily because you guys are going to be in the Super Bowl, but no, seriously, but because it's going to be the Deshaun Watson that signed the 366 trillion kabillion
239
guaranteed contract. That's the guy that you're going to see. So be excited.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to push this to you first, Willie, and because I don't know if I'll ever be able to get to talk to you folks again. But here's my thing.
That's a lie.
When I look at a Jerome Ford as a piece on the chessboard, I don't see the difference between him and like Elijah Moore in terms of, body type and stature. Like they're the same height, about the same weight. We talk about one of his greatest plays or biggest plays was a pass. Like for me, when I think about a running back, I am thinking about someone that's like a Nick Chubb stature. And I think more about Kareem, and I'm not trying to start any drama, but I think more about Kareem stepping into that starting position specifically because of a DeJuan Jones. That I recall, Kareem's, the thing that got him released or cut was he just couldn't hit the hole quick enough. But now I think about DeJuan Jones and how he could possibly create that extra second of space for a body type like Kareem versus a Jerome Ford to hit that hole. Mm-hmm. And I know I said a lot there, but I'm just so curious when you think about the true starting running back from the year, and this is a repetitive question, is that Ford?
Maybe not for this team. And the reason why I say that is because Kareem Hunt could still start on more than half the teams in the NFL. And when Nick Chubb was out that time, what did Kareem do? Kareem more than held his own. I mean, he was a top running back in the league when he was starting for Kansas City. So now what you have, and Kareem Hunt is more like Nick Chubb than anybody else in that running back room. So he's not going to need the type of blocking, if you will, that say Ford will need, because he's kind of a bruiser as well. It's going to be a tremendous change of pace because now you got this big play element out of Ford, and you still have a big play element in Kareem, but you also have a knock him between the eyes type of running back when he's running through the tackles. Look, I think that it is going to be a tremendous and quick transition because Kareem Hunt already knows the playbook, number one. Mm-hmm. And then that's going to take pressure off of Ford because now he doesn't even seem like the type that would be built for carrying the load like a Nick Chubb would or like a Kareem Hunt did when he was in Kansas City. So now what do you do when you do that? Now you have the opportunity to keep this guy fresh, and you have an opportunity to keep Kareem Hunt fresh. And when the fourth quarter comes and they're knocking people back, the offensive line is knocking people back. Well, guess what? When Kareem Hunt is in there, they may not have to knock people back as much. And then when Ford is in there, they can knock them back just a little bit more. And next thing you know, you got a house call.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and take a break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle. Did you have a response to that?
I was waiting for your response, but maybe on the other side.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to talk about it because it looks like we're going to do football. We're going to do NFL today, and we're going to do Ohio State tomorrow. So we do have some comments that I want to read off too, but we got to get this break in. So you're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM, and we are going to be right back. All right, we're not taking a short of a break. Good job.
No, I really appreciate it. I mean, because that's the stuff that, like, I think about. Like, I know, just me being a chick, I just think maybe there was something between Kareem and Kevin. Like I really.
Oh, you think so?
Oh yeah, because it was like the commentators, like when he
Mhm.
came in, he said, Kareem said he's committed to come back, being more positive, and I thought, okay, because to me, they should have never let him go. I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel.
Yeah.
And even if you look yesterday, like he had half the carries compared to Jerome Ford, and he had twice the average yardage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I know it's only one game.
Yeah, and then Jerome Ford kind of, can, put some turnovers on the ground too. So I think about, Kareem getting more and more each week, and it might be a balanced rushing attack, where you get Kareem even more touches than he had when Chubb was playing, because Jerome Ford is,
Right.
Just a sophomore.
You
It's only a second.
Pressure.
It's only a second year in the league.
And that, and then too, I really want to hear you like respond to that. And then to me, again, going back to like body types, because I'm just like old school. Like, did you see what they're doing with Elijah? Did you see what they were doing with Elijah? Did you like what they were doing with Elijah?
Yeah.
Like, I'd bring it.
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. I want to read some comments really quickly. So George says, he said, speaking of the real deal, does the Vegas Raiders have a contingency plan for when Jimmy G goes into injury, concussion? So Willie is best to answer that. He's away right now. Mike Hughes says he need a therapy session. Bad news Bears. Yeah, they got beat kind of bad yesterday. Mike also says Ohio State quarterbacks live in my head rent free. I didn't know that you were a Notre Dame fan, so sorry about that. We're definitely going to be talking Ohio State and Notre Dame tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that show, Mike. And he said the question of the night is, what's the higher chance, me having a chance with Brandy or the Bears finally winning the game? It's been a while, since a whole year since they last won. And so Mike is in love with my co-host that comes on Tuesday. So that's what he means by that. He said completely
Dirty old man.
He says completely agree with all that. Kareem definitely helps make Deshaun a better passer as well. And George says Jerome Ford to me is comparable back to Tony Pollard. Ford is a change of pace type of player. Please stop running him up the middle. I lived through the Eric Metcalf days.
Oh, God bless you.
So Sapphire did want me to respond to that. So we talked a little bit off of air, and I was saying that I think he's definitely going to get more touches. I think even more touches than he got when Nick Chubb was around, because Jerome Ford kind of, can put the ball on the ground as well. And, we're going to need ball security. This is very important as this team, aspires to do something bigger. You're going to need ball security. But, it was a seamless transition, him getting in the game. It was like he never left. So obviously he stayed fresh. He stayed ready. And when that opportunity came, he shined. So he had 7 touches yesterday. And what'd you say he averaged, Sapphire?
Kareem Hunt?
Yeah.
Yeah, he averaged 2.6 yards a carry.
Okay.
Twice as many as Jerome Ford.
Yeah.
Who had twice as many handles.
Okay. Which ain't bad for somebody who was just sitting on this couch on Monday.
Probably
who was watching the game Monday night, who saw, what happened. So not bad, for him. Willie, I don't, we got 10 minutes left, so we don't have a ton of time to talk about your Raiders. But did you hear what George said? Speaking of does the Vegas Raiders have a contingency plan when Jimmy G goes into injury, concussion?
No. I told you about coming around here messing with these people.
They had a chance to beat Pittsburgh last night. They absolutely had a chance. But what, Jimmy G threw an interception, right?
He threw 3 of them.
Okay, because I kind of fell asleep on that game or whatever. I was a little tired. So.
I wish I would have fallen asleep on it.
Yeah. I mean, and then the amount of people, Sapphire, did you get a chance to watch that game last night?
No, I did not.
Oh my God. The amount of Pittsburgh fans that was there, it was almost like a Pittsburgh home game. I was just like, oh my God, the terrible towels was waving and all that. And I was rooting for the Raiders, by the way, Willie. We needed y'all to kind of win that game. So
that would have never happened.
Was rooting for y'all.
That would have never happened in the town. That would have never happened in Oakland. Never. Oh man. See, here's the thing. Can I be completely 100% transparent?
Yeah.
The Raiders coaching staff sucks. They suck.
Josh McDaniel was almost our coach here. Remember, they was like, he on the plane,
Sucks.
tracking Josh McDaniels.
Be glad that y'all don't have him. Be glad. That dude, he done got on my last 2, 3, 4, 5 nerves. And I always try to have a nerve in reserve because somebody gonna get on the last one. But he done got on all of mine. Him and Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator. Those two coaches seem like they do not know how to make adjustments at all at halftime. And for Josh McDaniels, we have the ball down in Pittsburgh territory with about 3 minutes left to go in the game. We have all of our timeouts. We had kicked the field goal, but then we got a 15-yard penalty for leverage. And you decide that on 4th down, you want to kick the field goal as opposed to going for the touchdown? Thinking that this Raider defense is going to get a stop when you need it?
Yeah.
They made Kenny Pickett look like Kenny Stabler. They made Kenny Pickett look like Joe Montana when he was in Kansas City. Not the 49ers Joe Montana, but the Kansas City Chiefs Joe Montana.
Yeah.
I'm completely and totally disgusted. The running game can't get going. You you trade Darren Waller to the Giants, and then you sign Austin Hooper in the offseason, and then you draft the number 1 tight end in all of college football, arguably, from Notre Dame, and neither one of these dudes, they don't even get targets. And what I don't understand is Josh McDaniels was the offensive coordinator in New England when they had 2 tight ends, one by the name of Aaron Hernandez and the other one by the name of, what's his name? Rob Gronkowski. And you mean to tell me you can't scheme these dudes open? He got to go, man. He got to go.
Got some more comments. Mike says, Ford reminds me of Tyreek Cohen a lot. He says, oh, Willie, a Raiders fan, LOL, tragic. He said, it would have happened, Willie. He said, I'll trade you a pack of gum and a Chicago Italian beef for McDaniel.
That's too much. That's too much.
He said tight ends rarely have success in their rookie year. So
Mike, that is too much for Josh McDaniels. Pack of gum and a Chicago Italian beef. How about I counter your trade request with a stick out of a pack of gum? No Chicago Italian beef, and you can have McDaniels.
Speaking of tight ends, right quick, one of the issues that I'm seeing is that we paid David Njoku a lot of money, and we're not using him at all. You know, he pretty much had 1 target yesterday, which was a completion, but I'm kind of wondering, you know, what's going on. And Kevin Stefanski is known for using his tight ends and loving tight ends, but he's not doing anything with David Njoku. So what is going on with that, Sapphire? Let me know what you think.
I mean, my thoughts are, I totally agree with you. And then I seem to remember an Instagram during the offseason Njoku had, he was all like buttoned up in a sweatsuit talking about he put on some extra weight, closer to 300 pounds. So in my mind, I wonder, the coaches see these players in ways we don't. They see their work ethic, right? They see how they are in the locker room studying. And I just wonder if between that weight gain and some other internal machinations we're not aware of, Njoku got put on the naughty list. Mm-hmm. That's what I wonder, because he's not being used. I mean, and to me, I do have an issue with the way Stefanski's play calling continues. Mm-hmm. Like, he seems more like, and I mean this with respect, okay? He reminds me of like a Madden football player. You know, I got all these different plays. I'm not thinking about my competitor. I'm not thinking about the situation. This is the play I want to call, and I'm going to make it work. Versus saying, here's the talent that I have, and I want to design plays that will embellish their strengths, right? Mm-hmm. I've never seen that in Kevin Stefanski. He's quite stubborn in that way. So, but for me, that's my answer about Njoku. I think he may be on a naughty list.
Willie got some more comments for you. George says playing in the black hole was a major home field advantage. Playing in the Vegas desert is a different story. And Mike says package accepted. I'll be on the way to pick him up shortly.
Mike is a Steelers fan, right?
Huh?
Mike is a Steelers fan, right?
No, Mike is in Chicago. He's a Bears fan. He's a long-suffering Bears fan.
Oh, wow. You have
Yeah.
my condolences, sir, big time, because
Yeah, I know.
that's a mess in Chicago. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And Justin Fields is my boy, and he kind of threw the coaching staff under the bus a little bit. So,
And he should have.
So we don't know what's going to happen with that, but I want him to have all the success in the world. Shout out to CJ Stroud getting that win yesterday. So congrats to him. We're just going to have to talk about Notre Dame tomorrow. We're going to finish up with the Browns. So very quickly, the Guardians split with the Baltimore Orioles, and the Baltimore Orioles are leading in the AL East. So we're counting down on the games that Tito has. So tomorrow, and the Guardians are off today. So tomorrow and Wednesday is the last days that you're going to watch Tito be the manager of the Cleveland Guardians. So they are giving out Tito t-shirts on Wednesday. So I'm going to do a sports minute after the game on Wednesday. So the time is dwindling down. And then media day for the Cleveland Cavaliers is on October 2nd. So you got that going on, but we're going to save tomorrow for Ohio State football and break down the Ohio State game against Notre Dame. Sapphire, you have an open invitation to come on anytime you want to, but you can go on NBC and catch the highlights from that game, because I thought I was going to miss it too, because I was at the game, but I was able to go home during halftime, so I was able to catch the rest of it. So that was an amazing victory. And you guys, that's pretty much all the time we got for today. So I want to thank Sapphire for coming on so much, Willie. I'm glad it was able to work out, with you being able to come on.
We need Sapphire socials.
Oh yeah, Sapphire, what's your social media?
Oh man, now I'm up in age. I look a lot older than I am, and I'm not even certain I understood that question, so I have to get back to you on that.
Okay, and one last comment before we go. George says, and Njoku will be used longer and be featured more on Sunday in other ways. We have many playmakers, but only one ball. So, hey guys, that's our time. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle, WOVU 95.9 FM. We are out of here. All right, Willie, thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Tomorrow.
Okay, you coming on tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll come on for a few minutes.
Okay, did you watch your Ohio State game?
I watched the end of it, the ending of it.
Yeah. Watched the whole game.
Huh?
Should have watched the whole game.
I think I was. Oh, you know what? I was having some issues with my Fire Stick. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah. Oh, they didn't end the studio. It's still live.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. Well, I'll holler at you tomorrow.